Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a shocking truth. More than 70% of people who win the lottery go broke within 5 years. Imagine that. Millions in their hands, gone. Back to poverty. Why? Because money without the right mindset disappears. And this is the painful truth about money, why poor people stay poor. Think about your own life. Have you ever waited for payday, received your salary, and within a week it was gone? Rent, food, bills, maybe a new phone, a dinner out, and then back to zero. You ask yourself, where did it all go? That cycle, earn, spend, survive, repeat, is the cycle that keeps millions of people trapped. I know this because I lived it. There was a time when I stood outside offices, desperate for a job, rejected over and over. At that time, all I could think about was survival. If I can just make enough to eat, if I can just pay the bills, and guess what? Every time I made a little more, I spent a little more. I wasn't growing. I was just running faster on the same treadmill. Poor people stay poor because survival thinking never allows growth. Let me give you an example. Two young men work in the same factory. They earn the same salary. One spends his evenings watching TV, scrolling, spending money on small pleasures. The other spends 1 hour a day learning English, another hour reading about business, and instead of buying new clothes every month, he saves and invests. After 10 years, the first man is still working in the factory. The second, he owns his own small company. Same salary, same job, different choices, different future. This is the secret. Poverty is not just about money, it's about habits. Take J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. She was living on welfare, raising a child alone, rejected by 12 publishers. She could have said, I'm poor, I have no chance. But she kept writing. Her ideas became books. Her books became movies. Her movies became an empire. She turned words into billions. That's not luck, that's mindset. Here's the dangerous mindset poor people carry. I don't have enough, so let me spend what I have to feel good now. Let me buy things that look rich instead of investing in what makes me rich. Survival thinking eats the seed. Growth thinking plants it, waters it, and waits for the tree. Ladies and gentlemen, if you eat the seed, you will always stay hungry. Look at Oprah Winfrey. Born into poverty, abused as a child, working in a grocery store at 14. By every measure, she should have remained poor. But she didn't just survive, she grew. She learned to speak. She learned to connect. She turned pain into power. Today, she's not just rich, she's one of the most influential women in the world. Not because she had money at the start, but because she planted her seed and refused to eat it. Now I want you to ask yourself, am I surviving or am I growing? Am I chasing comfort or am I building skills? Do I spend to look rich or do I invest to become rich? Poor people stay poor, not because they are lazy. Many poor people work harder than anyone else. They stay poor because all their energy goes into surviving today instead of building tomorrow. So why do poor people stay poor? Because poverty is not just in the wallet, it's in the mind. Change the mind and you change the wallet. Change the habits and you change the future. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the foundation of the truth about money. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you the harshest truth about money. Poor people don't just stay poor because they don't earn enough. They stay poor because they fall into money traps. And these traps are everywhere. In your shopping malls, in your smartphones, in the ads you see every day. If you don't see them, you will spend your entire life working hard and still end up with nothing. Think about this. The moment most people get extra money, they don't invest it. They buy something new. A phone, a car, a bigger TV. Do you know what's interesting? Poor people want to look rich. Rich people want to stay rich. Warren Buffett, one of the richest men alive, still lives in the same house he bought in 1958. Meanwhile, someone earning $500 a month will buy a $1,000 phone. This is the consumer trap. And it is the first reason why poor people stay poor. I once had a friend who worked very hard. The moment he got a raise, he took a loan to buy a new car. He was proud, he felt successful. But every month, half his salary went to the bank. He wasn't free, he was trapped in debt. That car didn't make him rich, it made the bank rich. Ladies and gentlemen, never confuse looking rich with being rich. Here's the second trap. Fear. Poor people are afraid to take risks, but they don't realize that doing nothing is the biggest risk of all. How many times have you heard someone say, I don't want to start a business. It's too risky. I don't want to invest. I might lose money. And then they put their money in savings accounts, earning 2% interest while inflation eats 10%. They are not saving. They are slowly losing. When Jeff Bezos left his stable Wall Street job to start Amazon in his garage, everyone thought he was crazy, but he understood something poor people often don't. The biggest risk is not failing. The biggest risk is never trying. Today, Amazon is worth over $1 trillion. If he had played safe, he would have been comfortable, but never wealthy. The third trap is procrastination. Poor people say, one day I will start saving. One day I will invest. One day I will start a business. But one day never comes. Do you know what Albert Einstein called the eighth wonder of the world? Compound interest. The earlier you start, the bigger it grows. But if you keep waiting, you lose the only thing you can never get back, time. I made this mistake too. In my early days, I wasted years waiting for the perfect opportunity. I thought, when I have enough money, then I will invest. When I have more time, then I will learn. But that time never came. The truth is, there is no perfect time. You start with what you have, where you are right now. Let's talk about the last trap in this part. Environment. Poor people stay poor because they surround themselves with poor thinkers. If your 5 closest friends only talk about gossip, football, and parties, guess what? You'll spend your life gossiping, watching football, and going to parties. But if your 5 closest friends talk about business, ideas, investments, and growth, you'll rise. Show me your friends, and I will show you your future. When Elon Musk was young, he wasn't surrounded by comfort. He was surrounded by dreamers, engineers, and problem solvers. That environment shaped him. That environment pushed him. That's why he builds rockets, while others are still arguing about gas prices. Ladies and gentlemen, let me leave you with this. The poor stay poor because they fall into traps, consumption, fear, procrastination, and environment. These traps steal your future quietly while you think you are just living life. But life is not about just living. Life is about growing. And until you break these traps, money will always control you instead of you controlling money. One of the habits that keeps people poor is blaming others. Poor people love to say, it's not my fault. The system is against me. My boss doesn't pay me enough. My parents didn't give me a good education. Yes, life is unfair. That's true. But blaming others will never put food on your table. Blaming others will never pay your bills. Blaming others will never build your future. I'll tell you this, the richest people in the world were not born with perfect circumstances. Oprah Winfrey was born into poverty, abused as a child, and still built an empire. Howard Schultz, the man behind Starbucks, grew up in the projects. His father was a truck driver who struggled to support the family. Today, his company serves millions daily. If they had kept blaming, they would still be stuck. Instead, they took responsibility. And that, my friends, is the real difference. Poor people blame, rich people take responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, we've talked about why poor people stay poor, the traps, the habits, the fears. But now, let's talk about something more powerful. How to break free. Because here's the truth. You are not stuck. Poverty is not a life sentence. It's a mindset, and mindsets can change. When I was young, I thought money was something other people had. I thought success was for the lucky ones, the smart ones, or the born rich. But I was wrong. Success is not about where you start. It's about how you think and how you grow. I've seen people with nothing build empires, and I've seen people with millions lose everything. The difference is not the size of their wallet, it's the size of their vision. Here's the first key. Stop chasing money. Start chasing value. Do you know why so many people work for 40 years and still retire broke? Because they only trade time for money. They never ask, how can I create something valuable that works even when I sleep? Bill Gates once said, if you're born poor, it's not your mistake, but if you die poor, it is your mistake. He didn't say this to insult anyone. He said it to remind us, money follows value. When you solve problems, when you help people, when you add value, money finds you. I once met a man who opened a small food cart. He didn't have much, but instead of complaining, he asked himself, what do people in my city need? He noticed office workers rushing every morning without time for breakfast. So he started selling cheap, healthy breakfast near the subway station. Within months, his one cart became 5 carts. Within years, he opened restaurants. He didn't chase money, he chased value. And money chased him. Poor people buy things. Rich people buy skills. The phone in your hand will lose value in 1 year, but the skill you learn can make you money for the rest of your life. Do you know why Steve Jobs was able to build Apple? Because he studied calligraphy, something that looked useless at the time. But that skill gave Apple computers the beautiful fonts that changed design forever. Skills compound, and when your skills grow, your income grows. The third key is how you see failure. Poor people fear failure. Rich people learn from failure. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times before creating the light bulb. But he didn't call it failure. He said, I found 10,000 ways that won't work. Most people give up after one rejection, one loss, one embarrassment. But here's the truth. Every failure is tuition you pay to the school of success. I failed many times. I failed exams. I failed job interviews. I was rejected again and again. At that time, I thought maybe I'm not good enough. But now I understand. Those failures were training me. They were not the end of my journey. They were the beginning. Without those failures, I would not be here speaking to you today. The fourth key, think long term. Poor people ask, how much will I earn today? Rich people ask, what will this decision do for me in 5 years, in 10 years? Amazon lost money for years before making profit. But Jeff Bezos didn't care about short-term pain. He cared about long-term dominance. That's why today Amazon is everywhere, while other companies that chased quick profit disappeared. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you this clearly. You cannot escape poverty by wishing. You cannot escape poverty by shortcuts. You escape by changing how you think. Stop chasing money, start chasing value. Stop buying things, start buying skills. Stop fearing failure, start learning from it. Stop thinking short-term, start building long-term. The moment your mindset changes, your life changes. Because money is not the problem. Mindset is. And when your mindset grows, wealth follows. Now the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Because knowing is not enough. You must act. You must decide today whether you will keep living the same story or whether you will write a new one. Let me tell you something about myself. When I was younger, I almost gave up many times. I thought, maybe this is my fate. Maybe I will always be poor. Maybe success is not for people like me. But one day, I made a decision. I told myself, if others can do it, why not me? If others can rise, why not me? I may not have money, but I can have courage. I may not have education, but I can learn. I may not have connections, but I can build them. That decision changed my life, and now I'm the CEO of Alibaba, and I challenge you today to make the same decision. Do not tell yourself, I am poor. Tell yourself, I am not finished yet. Stop saying, I have no money. Start saying, I will create value, and money will come. Stop waiting for the perfect time. The perfect time will never come. The only time you have is now. Have you heard the story of the Chinese bamboo tree? You plant the seed, for 5 years, nothing happens. You water it, you nurture it, and still nothing. People laugh at you. They say you're wasting your time. But in the 5th year, something incredible happens. The bamboo tree grows 90 feet tall in just 6 weeks. Did it grow in 6 weeks? No. It grew in 5 years and 6 weeks. Those years underground built its roots. Your life is the same. The struggles you face today are not wasted. They are your roots. And when the time comes, you will rise higher than anyone ever imagined. The richest people in the world don't just think about themselves. They think about their families, their communities, their future generations. If you are poor today, don't just dream about money. Dream about freedom. Dream about giving your children the life you never had. Dream about breaking the cycle of poverty in your family forever. Because the truth is, money is not just about buying things. Money is about options. Money is about freedom. Money is about impact. Ladies and gentlemen, if you remember nothing else from tonight, remember this. Poor people stay poor because they believe they have no choice. But you have a choice. A choice to think differently. A choice to act differently. A choice to believe that your future is greater than your past. So I ask you right now, when you walk out of this room, when you close this video, will you go back to the same habits, the same fears, the same excuses? Or will you say, this is my time, this is my moment. I will not let poverty define me. I will rise, I will create, I will win. Because the truth about money is simple. It does not stay with those who fear it. It flows to those who respect it, who grow with it, who use it to build, not just to survive. Ladies and gentlemen, you have the power. The question is, will you use it? Thank you.